and evening. Um, this is a notice and declaration to those that would classify themselves as English, a United Kingdom citizen, WASP, European, French, German, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, West Indian, African Caribbean, Nigerian, Ghanaian, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Afghani, Ukrainian. Christian, Jew, Judite, Muslim. Variations thereof. That I, Norman of the family right, as British Moor, line of Orsar, Orset, Horus, Moses, Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, and own this too. Jacob, James, first, Charles, 1 and 2. I took that one actually, maybe. Mary, Queen of Scots, who I believe to have been beheaded by her cousin for wishing to remain in honor of her ancient mothers and fathers, the ones I have mentioned previously. That, yes, I'm putting on notice all of the aforementioned and declaring myself as British Moor. Declaration is about that I am 5/5 competent and I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm saying. And I comprehend what has been occurring, what has occurred, and the impact of what has occurred on, and I'm here to essentially reclaim, take responsibility for my birthright as Moor to these lands. these islands known as various things, various names in the past. More recently, the United Kingdom, England, Britain, Great Britain, Britannia, Albion, as organic and indigenous to these lands, hence can be my birthright. At least on one side of my more like my father's side, actually, but probably both my mother and father, but potentially on my mother's side, from Mexican. Currently known as America, and of the islands of Mexican, ex-America. To say that in that declaration, in that notice, and putting all the aforementioned on notice as I say, organic and indigenous to these lands, bear in mind the return of the indigenous. Been here all bloody long, so it's not a return, but it's a return insofar as consciousness and awareness. It's become apparent to me that everybody knows except me. Okay, all right, fair enough. Now, the declaration and me saying that I am 5/5 competent, that I'm aware of my responsibilities as indigenous to these lands. I'm also aware of the obligations of those aforementioned to honor the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, goes back to, I forget the date, but also to honor UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, written in 2006, actually, amended 2017, and ratified in 2006, and I think it's been reviewed and amended a couple of times during that time. I think something happened in 2009, within which it makes clear the obligations of the state and the agencies of the state. Okay, let me be clear about what I know and comprehend to be the state and its agents. The state, in this instance, is the United Kingdom Corporation. Okay, that is the state. It's not a country. It's a company. It's a business. Registered at Companies House, declared bankrupt in 2019. Okay, check this out for yourself. You can find this information out for yourself. Okay, I did my due diligence, and I checked out, done my research. Okay. One of the reasons for this post, let me go back. Obligations. I'm aware of my responsibilities as Indigenous under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And I'm very aware now, as I say, of the obligations of the states. Right, states includes places like France, it's a state, okay? Germany, it's a state. United Kingdom is a state. The USA, lots of states. Yeah, it's called the United States, okay? And their agencies, Agencies include government and the governmental departments. It includes social services departments, city councils, universities, all your major corporations. Actually, these are all agents of the state. Everything. So you've been put on notice. And all I'm asking, demanding, is that you meet those obligations that you have signed up to in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which you have been well aware of, because the thing was written, as I say, back in 2006. More to the point, an aspect of that. And from what I am comprehending has occurred these last 2 weeks, somewhere in the last 2 weeks, is an amendment. I'm going to show it to you now. It is one aspect of that declaration. There was a General Assembly back in 1960. This is the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. That's a precursor to UNDRIP. Yeah. Now this has been a notice has been served for, again, states to address this, to make, to implement, for this to be enacted. Okay, I'm going to scroll through it. I'm not going to read through it. You can freeze it and read as you go along. But apparently and evidently, this has had an impact on courts. This is why courts are not functioning. That's why the judges and barristers this week, and the judges, is it High Court judges, criminal court judges, have stopped operating, or have gone on strike, or have done something under the guise of them being paid minimum wage, or they're only earning minimum wage, and they're not happy about it. After 6-7 years of training, that they find themselves working for less than minimum wage. That's why they're going on strike. Blah 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 blah. But if you read the small print, it's they're only earning minimum wage in regards to legal aid, which is just about nobody can get that anyway. Legal aid comes from the state, for the people. That's what legal aid is there for, because it pays for the fees of solicitors, barristers, judges, etc., to get justice. You have to pay for it. When seeking legal recourse, that's what legal aid was there for. It shouldn't actually be there. You shouldn't have to pay for justice. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. But it does show you and signify, and is an example of how, of our judicial system, not ours, it's worldwide, and how it is being used to, how it's been operating. How it's been operating, on what basis it's been operating, on what basis it wishes to continue, but is not able to continue because there's not enough money in it for that. All crime is commercial. Commercial means that which can be bought and sold. Say it again for the third time. I said it once before. All crime is commercial. Commercial means that which can be bought and sold. Okay. So, in the absence of judges, solicitors, barristers, and a system, a judicial system, which is not able to function because there's not enough money in it, it's quite clear that it's not serving the people. It's definitely not served the indigenous. And when you put it against this document, and I'm going to scroll it back again, which is sort of saying, it's affirming that peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. Now, with international law, what we're going back to is the UNDRIP, the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which the UK reluctantly, but nonetheless, has signed up to it. It has obligations. And those obligations became, in effect, at the time of their writing. They've chosen to ignore it. Yeah. Hoping, yes, and I use the word hope, praying, and actually very successfully ensuring that people don't know. General public doesn't know. People don't know if they're indigenous or not. People don't know if they do recognize they're indigenous, they're organic, they're natural, living self as being part of and connected to this planet that we call Earth. Got where I was going with that. But if we don't know that that's who we are, we've been told, we've been informed, we've been indoctrinated, we've been manipulated, we've been coerced into thinking, believing one thing when the opposite is true about life, the universe, and the people. Life, universe, planet Earth, and the people on it. There's a connection between this document, UNDRIP, and as an example, the APA apology for genocidal thinking, and genocidal operations and eugenics thinking, philosophy, which has been the basis of, as an example, our education system, our mental health, and psychiatric and mental health and general health. They've been responsible for deciding, and that philosophy, that way of thinking about human beings, and yes, based upon race and based upon culture and based upon that these operations, these genocidal operations have been taking place. And they continue to this very moment. Lost my train of thought there a little bit. So that is what I'm serving notice about, that I am aware of what it is that you've been doing and what it is that you continue to do. And I'm calling you out because you've known, and you've known all along for the longest time, and you've absolutely known now, you know, right in front of your face, and you continue to carry as though nothing's changed. There's a reluctance to, and I get it. But no, you've got to be called out. This is ridiculous. Step aside. If you recognize yourself as indigenous, you've got some work to do. Yeah, it's cleaning up that needs to be done. Yeah, and we are to lead on that. Why? Because it's your manner, your birthright. You either do or you don't. You know, that's your responsibilities. If you are a belligerent occupier and you consider yourself not indigenous, then that's fair enough. But your time is up. It's time to confess. It's time to move aside. You either be part of the solution or you remain part of the problem. And this is I'm not making any threats. Nature will take care of you. Big Mama is back. The sacred feminine is here. It is the time, it's the return of, how can I say this in a way that, it's the return of the sacred feminine. It's, it's the patriarchal operations, the patriarchal thinking, the patriarchal systems that we've set up in place. It's all played out now. It's done, it's finished. And you will start to see, and probably can feel, well, we're all feeling it actually, the effect of all major platforms have collapsed. Feel the effects of it in the high prices. It's not all about Ukraine, Russia, blah, 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 blah. Yes, if everybody's buying their oil in rubles, yes, and everybody's buying dollars, everybody's using dollars to buy anything, that tells you that the world's given up on, don't want to do that anymore. They want to be part of that corruption anymore. So that's the choice that we're all having to make at the moment. Do we continue to participate in a corrupt understatement, real understatement, corrupt, bankrupt system, or do we do something that is very, very different? Do I step into that responsibility that I feel too old and too tired for? Very reluctant to do it, a little bit angry to do it, very angry actually. Or not. My senses at the moment, people don't want to do it. People want to remain oblivious, carry on as normal, and hope that, but let me tell you this, melanated people are waking up. Feed the Children, as a project that I talked about before, it's arrived. Okay, it's happened. It's happening. And this is what I mean. There's a calling. A group of melanated men who are aware, becoming aware of who they are and their birthright and where it is, are ready to hear from our women to provide us with further guidance on how we might protect our children and our women. And it's in that regard that I am putting everyone on notice, all the states, this particular state that I'm living in at the moment, called the United Kingdom, and its agents to meet your obligations. And I and DRC in particular, as that's what I'm part of, the Done Ramping Coalition has done ramping, and we are acting, and we will be making our demands shortly. Yeah, as 5/5 competent to be able to direct and decide and be responsible for our own affairs, our own mental health, our own spirituality, and that of our ancient mothers and fathers on and in these lands. Till the next time, may your ERP remain strong. I could have got off the screen then. Stop sharing. May your ERP remain strong. Till the next time.